Welcome to Seize the Mains, Daily Answer Writing by Malhotra's IAS Academy. I'm Surbhi Sardana and I'm taking this initiative for UPSC and State Civil Services Mains Answer Writing practice from Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. If you're new to this initiative, you can download the timetable till May 3rd from the link in the description below. Also, you can share your answers with us after this video in the next 24 hours and get them evaluated by our experts entirely free of cost. Today's day 49 of Seize the Mains and our topic for today is from GS paper 1, distribution of key natural resources around the world. Let's display the question, but before that I request that you keep a pen and a paper handy with you. When you read out the question, pause the video for some time and create a structure for your answer. Just try to recall what all data points you know, what all facts or agencies you know about which you will be inculcating in your answer, and develop a very good structure for your answer before you start writing it. So let's see what's the question for today. The interlinking of rivers can provide viable solutions to the multidimensional interrelated problems of droughts, floods and interrupted navigation. Critically examine. Answer in 150 words for 10 marks. Send your answers in the next 24 hours. See, the directive here is critically examine. Critically examine means by taking the facts of the case, you have to see both sides of an argument and what all are the nitty-gritties of that point. For example, since we are talking about interlinking of rivers here, and it can interlinking of rivers has pros and cons to it. This could also be a discuss question, but in discuss you have to give all sides of the argument without inculcating more facts or data. But when interlinking of rivers is the topic, the examiner has given the directive critically examine, because the examiner knows that there is a lot of data involved in this question and there are a lot of recent examples that can go into answering this question. So this is a little stricter directive than discuss. So we will address the answer accordingly. We'll take the answer in points and we'll inculcate examples from what we have seen in the recent past or in other countries, what are the potential benefits of interlinking of rivers, plus what is the data involved, what are the predictions that what could be the benefits according to the data. So that's how we'll address this directive. First of all, we'll begin by writing an introduction. An introduction is a basic conversation with an examiner. What is this conversation about? It is a conversation about the topic that has been given in the question. You have to paraphrase that topic. You have to use your knowledge to write about that topic. Whatever knowledge, facts or data that you know about, inculcate in your introduction and create a way for your body paragraphs through this. So moving on, this is the plan for interlinking of rivers. After this lecture is over, you can download the PDF for this presentation from the link in the description below, and you can see this diagram, see this map, whatever are the plans envisaged for interlinking of rivers therein. So you can check this out later. Here we've started by writing an introduction. Why was interlinking of rivers thought of in the first place? Because India on the one hand or on one side of country, we see that there are a lot of floods happening, and on the other side at the same point of time droughts are happening, or this variation has been seen in seasons also. Like in some seasons some areas are very affluent in terms of water availability, while other areas the same area could be suffering a water crisis in some different season. So perennial rivers and seasonal rivers, they are not available all over the country. They are not available in equality all over the country. So this interlinking of rivers was, this idea was brought up in 1970s to 80s, and it was seen as a solution to solving the water problems in India, especially the problems of floods and droughts and the economic problems that come with it. So we will talk about this problem and we will say that yes, interlinking of rivers is a viable solution. Why is it a viable solution? We'll give the positive aspects of it. So India has limited water resources. Every year India faces situation of floods in one part and droughts in the other part. The interlinking of rivers project can resolve this issue. So here you've given an identity, you've given a definition, or you've created a space that why interlinking of rivers is necessary. Now what is interlinking of rivers? For somebody who's reading this answer for the first time, this tough term might seem ununderstandable, non-understandable. So we'll define what is interlinking of rivers, we'll give its definition. It is a geo-engineering project which aims to link 2 or more rivers by creating a network of manually created canals. Rivers flow in their natural direction or on their natural route, but interlinking of rivers aims to create manual canals and direct the flow of water through them. So the National Perspective Plan presented the development of water resources through the inter-basin transfer of water and the transferring of water from water surplus areas to water deficit basins. So this is a broad definition of interlinking of rivers. Always remember the word limit while answering your question. This is a 150 words answer. This is a descriptive introduction. This introduction should not take more than 50 words. Introduction should never take more than 50 words, and it is a 150 words answer, so not more than 30 to 35 words. So paraphrase it, write it in your own words, just write 1 to 2 sentences and sum it up therein. So now we'll talk about the positive sides of interlinking of rivers. So what are the benefits of interlinking of rivers? Since this is a critically examined question, the first one was, in the question itself it was given. The problems that have been given are drought, flood and interrupted navigation. So your all parts should answer this part of the question. So the first one is interlinking of rivers or inter-basin linkage would help in additional irrigation. Areas which were water scarce earlier and where water was not available will have more water if water is coming from other basins. So the implementation will raise the final irrigation potential from 140 million hectares to 175 million hectares. If you can remember such data, well and good. Otherwise not important, but remember the data which is termed in terms of power. For example, the facilitation of it will facilitate the generation of 34 gigawatt of hydropower, and we have this target of 175 gigawatt power generation from renewable sources, and hydropower is one of them, and it will help in achieving of those targets also. This is needed by the country. We need non-fossil fuel based power generation in our country, so it will help there. With other important benefits like flood control, navigation, water supply, fisheries, salinity management and pollution control. How this will happen, we'll see in the coming points. So it will reduce the dependence of farmers. When there is water for irrigation available, farmers do not have to depend on seasonal rains, or they do not have to depend on the previous canals they were depending upon. When now water will be available, more irrigation facilities will be available, it will help us in doubling farmers' income. It will help us in improving the socio-economic benefits that we can give. So it will help in the agricultural crisis here. Linking of rivers will reduce dependence of farmers on uncertain monsoon rains, especially because climate change is in action, global warming is increasing, and climate change is causing a decrease in the or uncertainty in monsoon rains. So this is very much needed. It will provide irrigation in the water scarce western and peninsular regions. In fact, there are 3 components to interlinking of rivers, and one of the component is taking the water which is in northern rivers. Perennial northern rivers have a lot of water in them, taking that water downwards in the country. So one of the component is that also, as it will help in tackling floods and droughts. Water from one area, from a water surplus area, can be diverted to a water scarce area. Hence floods and droughts can be tackled easily, which will help in saving lives and will reduce economic loss. The fifth one is, which was the demand of the question, that when you interlink rivers, all season water transport can be developed. Your ships can move from one area to another because there would be no going down of water levels. Water will be always available for this water transport to take place. The cost of transportation will come down significantly. So newly created network of canals will open up new routes and ways of water for navigation, which is generally more efficient and cheaper compared to road transport. The sixth one is that it will provide drinking water to many people. By interlinking rivers, scarce area will get more water that is usually wasted in oceans. So recently there has been an interlinking of rivers project going on here in Gujarat. Make sure that you prepare that. This is your homework, which project it is. Make sure that you prepare that for your prelims especially, and use that as an example here when you send your answers to us. This area, people have advocated, the government has advocated that a lot of water from one of the rivers goes directly into the ocean and it is wasted every year. So we are diverting it to some water scarce areas. So that interlinking of project is in the news. Seventh one, it would provide employment opportunities. When you have a natural resource so important as water available, when you have easier transportation facilities, then obviously the socio-economic benefits would be high, the employment will go up, new employment opportunities will be created, especially in the fisheries sector. This was seen here also in the interlinking rivers, that project that we are talking about. So fisheries will also improve because water will always be available. So out of fisheries, a lot of revenue can be generated, a lot of people can find employment opportunities. So it is expected to generate opportunities in manufacturing, transportation, tourism through development of regions around the interlinked region. Also, when interlinking of rivers takes place, rivers tend to go back to their original course. So what the government does is, what these authorities do is, they plant a lot of trees on the river banks so that the river does not go back to its original course. So large scale afforestation around the renewed rivers and newly drained area will make environment more green. It will help in boosting biodiversity around the rivers. So these were the 8 points which are linked to the positive aspects or the benefits of interlinking of rivers. But had it been so easy, had it been so simple, then interlinking of rivers would have been done by now. Why have we not done it? There are some reasons, and they are most important reasons. Interlinking of rivers is a project that that connotes tampering with environment, with the natural flow of rivers, with the natural topography of regions of India, and India does not have a constant topography. So we need to tamper with the original topography of many regions, and we need to tamper with the original flow of many big rivers. So what are these are two news headings. So Par Tapi Narmada link, tribals oppose river interlinking project in Gujarat. Why are just tribals opposing it? Because when some project is carried on a large scale in our country, many people who do not have a lot of social development in their areas, or do not have an economic or social standing, a high economic or social standing in the country, they are kept behind. Their interests are not paid heed to, and even if they are paid heed to, satisfying them is very tough, because they are the people who have been staying in these areas for a very long time. It's very hard for them to rehabilitate in some other areas. So many a times when this interlinking of rivers takes place, a lot of villages get drowned, a lot of tribals suffer, a lot of poor people suffer, many farms, agricultural farms are lost to the artificial flow of river that is created. So such news are always there. So what are the concerns associated with interlinking of rivers in India? The first one is that the water available in perennial rivers is not that high due to climate change, due to global warming. It is decreasing with time. So the states which have surplus water, or rivers which have surplus water, are not in a capacity to give away that flow of water to any deficit rivers. The second one is the federal issue. Federalism is basic structure of the constitution. In India, all policies have to work in consonance with federalism. So what happens is, these rivers, they follow a biological route, they follow a natural topographical route, they do not follow the boundaries of the state, they do not follow political boundaries. But many rivers start from one of the state and end in another state. So there are issues created over division of waters of particular rivers. So when interlinking of rivers will take place, or the center tries to bring in such a move, what are the chances that states will happily accept it? There have been many issues, many tribunals have been formed related to sharing of waters of many famous rivers in the past, for example the Kaveri. And and these issues will come to the limelight with time as we bring up, as center brings up interlinking of rivers. So federalism, keeping federalism under in balance might be an issue. So the spirit of federalism is ignored in the river interlinking project. Historically, there has been a dissent on the part of the state governments regarding water sharing. For example, as evident from the disputes on rivers like Kaveri and Mahadayi. Now, similar disputes can arise with neighboring countries also. We have rivers and river sharing agreements with Pakistan, with Bangladesh, with China. There are many rivers which originate in different countries and come to India or go from India to different countries. So, what will be the future of these disputes, or will new disputes come up? Can interlinking of rivers be carried out in and these countries will be happy with it. So Bangladesh, being a lower riparian state, is less likely to agree to India's interlinking project. It will be adversely affected if we stop the waters of Brahmaputra there. So further, India will be less likely to pressure China on its version of the interlinking river. This will eventually affect lives in the northeast region. Already we are having problems governing northeastern region of India. It is geographically segregated. We want them to be assimilated with us politically, geographically and on a social level. This will create more problems to achieving that goal. The fourth one is high environment and economic cost. Economic cost is already there because a lot of infrastructure needs to get behind it. A lot of trees have to be cut. A lot of digging has to take place, and interlinking requires giving power to the river in a particular direction against its natural flow. So artificial power needs to be given for a particular time for the course of river to be changed. Secondly, when we talk about environmental cost, a lot of, for example, we've heard about the Ken-Betwa interlinking project, which might submerge a major portion of Panna Tiger Reserve. So loss of biodiversity takes place. This a lot of environmental changes take place, and so these are not in consonance, and these benefits, these losses that we see in picture are not in parallel with the benefits that we envisaged. Moving on, since this is a critically examined question, you cannot take a stand, you do not have to take a stand here. What you can do is sum up by giving a balanced conclusion that yes, there are pros and there are cons associated, but we have to keep both of them in mind. We have to take a balanced approach, and a tailor-made approach needs to be there for every separate project. For the entire country, we cannot have just one policy or one scheme or just one implementation method. There has to be, if we are carrying out interlinking of rivers, there has to be separate policies, separate steps have to be taken for this to be successful for every interlinking that we carry out there. So interlinking of rivers is one of the most ambitious projects of independent India. While the projected benefits are immense, they could come at a huge environmental and social cost. This is very important, the social cost involved therein. The project holds great potential, but all factors must be kept in mind before implementing it on a nationwide level. So, see, in whatever part of India you are staying, your state or a neighboring state must have been affected by interlinking of rivers in the past, or it is likely to be affected in the future. The tribals, the biodiversity, the availability of water resources, the disasters that will incur after this interlinking of rivers is carried out. So make sure that when you are writing your answer around this very important, very common and very recurrent topic of UPSC, you include those examples in your answer. Include the latest data that is available. There are editorials coming from time to time regarding different projects carried out in different parts of the country. So keep those as a note when you are reading your newspapers and use them as examples in your answer when you sit for mains. This is your answer for today. Send your answers to us at this email ID in the next 24 hours. You can download the PDF for this presentation from the link in the description below. Also, keep your prelims and mains preparation really balanced. Work really hard, and all the best to you. Stay tuned.